Tell you a little bit about my company. It's been around for 12 years now. Time flies when you're having fun. I was in the corporate world for 20 years before that. I specialize in home office, and small business, which probably pretty much covers everybody here. Macs, PCs, and networks. The sheet you're going to be getting in a moment, I wanted to do a little cross-training here. I want to tell you a little bit about my company, and two, to give you a little bit of education, because the only guarantee that I can tell you if you own a computer and you don't want to get into trouble is don't go on the internet, and don't connect to the internet, and don't go online. Then you won't have a problem. Other than that, you might have a problem, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Let's talk about my certifications. In the course of time, I've gotten certified from Microsoft, who you've heard of, Cisco, who you may not have heard of, CompTIA A+ Networking, which, yeah, if you've heard of that, I'll be really impressed.
Yes.
I also have a master's degree in educational technology. I worked in the educational computer market for 10 years, traveled to schools in 48 states and 5 countries, and worked on training systems in 33 prisons, which is a whole nother story. Some of the things I do. I can repair computers, as you've heard already. I can help set up and configure networks and computers for just about any size for any of the businesses we talk about. The processes I do are either on-site at your location, remote services through a secure server that's actually at my site, or I also do drop-off service for people that want to save some money. That covers that, and everybody should have pretty much gotten it by now. Okay, some important rules if you own a computer. Very important. Number one, and it's on this list here, I'm not going to do it in this order. If you own a computer and you have something important on your computer, back it up. Back up your computer. That is the single most important thing I could ever tell you, because I have had people literally in tears because they've lost data. It was irretrievable, and it can happen. And there's multiple ways to back up your computer, including external hard drives, on-site, DVDs if you don't have much data, or if you're like me, I do redundant backups. I also back up to the cloud. It's very important. It's the single most important thing you can do. The second thing, and these are things that you can do. I don't even have to, I can do it for you, and I'd be happy to do it for you. These things, if I don't do it for you, do it yourself. Just get it done. Make sure that you do updates. Updates to your operating system, Windows, Mac, whatever. Updates to your software, that's very important. Your browsers, you want to make sure that you keep those up to date, because that's how security vulnerabilities get, people get through your computers, through the security vulnerabilities, because what happens is they'll find something, and you hear it, you've heard it pretty much every month, that there's a new vulnerability. The manufacturers will do a patch job. They'll come up with a fix for it, and it'll be fixed. But the point is that most people don't update all their stuff. You have firmware on your computer, most people don't know how to update that. That's very important, that gets updated too. So, updates. And finally, security. Security is the single most important thing you can do to protect yourself. There's 2 types of security. Antivirus, which most of you have heard of, and malware protection. They're 2 different animals, they do 2 totally different things, and they are equally as important because people will exploit both of them. Okay, let's get back to this for a second. On this one, and this is specific to cybersecurity, these are very important things. How many people have ever been to a Starbucks? How many people have ever used their computer in a Starbucks? Rule number 1, it's okay to use your computer at Starbucks, but never, ever, ever go into anything important. No important financial, no important websites, no important anything. It's the single easiest way people can sit outside of Starbucks and hack any computer that's in there. anything, because it's open Wi-Fi. For your computers at home, how many people have Wi-Fi at home? Have you ever changed the password on your Wi-Fi router? Most people don't do that. If they go with their standard password that came with it, that's also a vulnerability. That's less likely to be hacked, but it can also be hacked. You want to change that password, and make sure that you change your passwords on your QuickBooks, on your websites that you control, anything you pretty much have passwords for, and I can't even tell you how many I have. But here's the one thing I do, and this is a personal preference. I write all my passwords down for every single website I have. And Nina can tell you about that because she does the same thing. In this day and age, I have probably 20 different sites that have passwords. So nobody can remember them all. And some sites will say, oh, you know what? It's been 3 months, you got to change your password. Oh, and by the way, you can't use any password you've ever used before. Oh, God, geez, so long. Anyway, so that's very important that you do that too.
Don't store them on your computer.
Yeah. Don't create a Word document and put it on your desktop and call it passwords. That's not good. Emails. And this happens quite frequently. I get calls all the time. And this even goes to the point where you can get hacked to the point where they'll lock up your computer completely. Never open up emails from anybody you don't know. You'd think that would be common sense, but people say they just don't think about it, and they do it. It's a very important rule. And another important rule, first of all, Microsoft will never call you. Microsoft will never call you. So if somebody calls and say, I'm from Microsoft and we have a problem with your computer, it isn't Microsoft, and they don't have a problem with they just want your money. So that said, also, if you ever get an email or you go to a website that says there's a problem with your computer, call this number, don't ever call that number. Call me, call somebody you know, and they'll tell you, just reboot your computer, go off the website. Reboot your computer, good idea. How much? 1 minute? All right. Finally, the last thing I wanted to say, if you get an email that says it's your bank, and this will happen, this is phishing. It has your name on it, and the logo for your bank, and it's saying, we're asking you to reset your security. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. Call the bank. Call anyone the email you get asking for a phone number. Don't use that phone number. Just go and call the phone number that you know. And finally, Ronis loves me when I say this. If your computer's broke and you're not, give us a call. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark. Everyone does everything he says, right?
Yeah, right. So our next component here is